everyone. Welcome to our episode on spiritual law. My name is Keli Raymond, and I want to talk to you about spiritual law because I had an interesting journey to this to come to be a teacher of this very topic. And there's a story to it. Ladies, you want to hear the story?
You bet.
Okay. All right. Well, it must have been about 10 years ago that that I hit a rough spot in my life and everything was turned upside down. I was going through a tumultuous War of the Roses divorce. My children weren't speaking to me as a result of it. They were just not having anything to do with me, angry, angry, angry. My ex-husband had pulled away any and all financial support, and I had a big nut every month to the tune of about $12,000 a month, and I had to figure it out. And I was just in a very, very low point because I felt as though, I really do have good intentions with people. I try hard. And to have all the people who meant the most to me not see me was devastating. So I was sitting next to my pool on the patio and I just decided I was going to vent at God because I'm an intuitive girl. I'm a psychic medium and I channel. And so I just decided I was going to vent. And I said, what the hell, God? I try hard with people. Why is my life like this? And unexpectedly, I heard a little whisper. And I heard a little whisper that said, well, you and a whole lot of other people, Keli, are asking the why question. They're asking the why question about why all kinds of things happen that are seemingly unfair. Why do, horrible things happen to young children? Why do people who do foul, unevolved things seemingly move along life unscathed? Why? Why do I not have enough money? Why don't I have love in my life? The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So, what we are wanting to do is to ask you to, we're going to give you the answers, but we would like for you to channel a book on our behalf about 7 universal truths. And it's going to give you the answers to a lot of the why questions that many humans on your planet are asking. And if you make the promise to carve out the time for this information, we promise you will never have a day's worth of writer's block. And we will give you the answers to the why questions. And you will become the living, breathing testimonial for this work. You will come to embody them after you learn them, and your life will transform. They said you will, in the process, become the living, breathing testimonial for unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, and non-judgment. I said, oh, Jesus, Mary, and 4 Josephs, that means some real craziness is going to queue up, right? Sounds like even more crazy than what I'm dealing with now. But I agreed because I really was at a loss. And on a 10-year journey of writing this book that I have just completed, it's called 7 Universal Truths, The Path to Peace and Prosperity. And actually, ironically, my healing chapter ended, excuse me, August 31st of 2025. I just came out of it. Just. So I have to tell you, it was the most hair-raising last 10 years. It was craziness personified, but I really am in the place now where I've stepped out of the dark and into the light. It was channeling this book was the hardest yet most healing thing that I've ever done. And so I want to share with you some of the 7 universal truths that what is now, as I know, who was channeling through me is the collective consciousness known as the council. And there are 7 universal truths. Universal truth number 1 is that we are all God in human form. Now, I was raised Catholic. And when they first channeled this through me, now I wasn't a practicing Catholic by this point because I'm a spiritualist. And I think that by design, we question things. So I had been questioning traditional religion for sure for quite some time. And this book of Seven Universal Truths, let me say, is an unlearning of how we normally have been conditioned and taught, especially by society as well as traditional religion. So this book it flies in the face of most of what we've been taught through traditional religion. And God, we are all God in human form, teeters on blasphemy, if you think about it, because how dare we think that we are that powerful when we have been taught that we need an intermediary in order to really have access to source energy. At least that is what was sort of beaten into me as a Catholic. 12 years Catholic school. But if you think about it, if you just think about that universal truth number one, how does that feel when you think about that? Because they told me if you wake up every day knowing your truth, that this is that you are God in human form, your whole day is going to go far differently because it's expansive, right? How does that feel when you think of that? It feels expansive. And as a footnote, they told me that expansive feelings are reflective of what source believes in you, that is true of you, because these are seven universal truths. And those things that feel contractive are not. Thou shalt not. How does that feel, Melissa?
That does not feel good.
Not at all, does it?
No.
Not true. God, being told that God needs you to do X, Y, and Z in order to earn your way into heaven. How does that feel?
Oh,
Restrictive.
Catherine. Go ahead,
Exactly.
Catherine. What did you say, Catherine?
I said it feels restrictive.
So it's not true. What I love about this book is that they give us shorthand, you know, methods of identifying where we are, if we are in or out of alignment with source. So this really is an unlearning. So it's taken me 10 years to learn this stuff and come to a place of embodying them. And I can honestly say now, I do wake up reminding myself that I'm God in human form. And to add to that, I always tell myself I am made of magic and miracles. Miracles happen every day. So, universal truth number two, love is the answer to all things. Now, they have also said that we often feel or believe we've been taught as a limiting belief that our ego keeps us, well, our ego keeps us safe, right? But our ego is based upon past history, which doesn't have anything to do with now, right? So we need to learn to not or unlearn to allow our ego to take the front seat in our life and decision making. And even when we are most vulnerable, we are the most safe. That there is no downside to love. Love teaches, actions don't, and words don't. Third universal truth, that we are the architect of our experience. We all design this little tea party we're in. We all come here with different life lessons, different paths. And as a footnote to that, too, no one knows what's better for you than you do. And the unlearning here is that we are taught in society and religion that a sameness, that we're expected to act in a same, in accordance to same rules and regulations, morals, all that kind of thing. When we're all inherently different. What's right for somebody is not right for the other. So no one can tell you what's best for you better than you can. So you always have to default to your gut and your heart. And always do you. How many times have you heard someone tell you about you share a dream and they just try to poo-poo your dream or to try and talk you out of it as impractical? Well, nothing is impossible because we're all made of miracles and magic. And all of our desires, we have them because they are available to us. We wouldn't have them if it wasn't meant for us to receive. The only thing that keeps us from it is our limiting beliefs, right? So even our challenges, our greatest challenges, we plan them because we grow and expand and ascend from our challenges. We come here. This is the grad school of getting our asses kicked to emotionally ascend. That's what we come here for. So the book encourages us to embrace our challenges, knowing that it's happening for a reason. You have to trust in your plan. Okay? And universal truth number 4, that we are all connected in here to love one another. You know, there's 4 principles of Christ consciousness. And, let me also say, take what resonates, leave the rest, because again, everybody's different on their own journey, different levels of spiritual ascension or positioning. I don't know where you are in your journey, but, you take what resonates and then leave the rest. But 4 pillars of Christ consciousness is, and let me just say, I've done some past life regression work on that. And this story that about him, completely wrong, false, made up. But one thing that through that experience of past life regression, I did the Jesus Chronicles for about 2 years with a client of mine. And I was explained by him that there's 4 pillars of Christ consciousness. One is that we all came here to love one another, take care of one another, and the animals of the time, right? Second one is that we did not come here to toil for the king to make him rich. That's not why we're here. How many people are still toiling for the king to make him rich? Especially these days, the king. Third thing is that we are all equal, yet unique and different. Let that be okay. How much more of a peaceful life and existence will we have if we just gave everybody the grace to be who they are? Understanding that everybody's on their own journey, and let that be okay. It would be huge difference, especially these days, right? And the fourth one is, you too can do as I do, including heal your body. So I say that in the context of that we are all connected and here to love one another. And it kind of dovetails back into the fact that love is the answer to all things, right? But we are all connected as one. We are all one. And all energetic beings. We're energy first, having a human, eternal energy, having a human experience. So this book also teaches us to flip the script. Most of us look at our life as human beings first, from that lens, having a soul, where the truth is the reverse, that we are eternal energy having a blip on the radar of a human experience here. Truth is, most of us have had thousands of past lives. And past is in quotes because it's all happening now. Time is not a linear thing. It's a human construct, not spirit. There's no sense of time. So I know that's a little bit of a mind bender, right? But that's for another time. And that we are all eternal energy having this human experience. And that was number 5. Number 6 was that we are all here and there are no mistakes about anything. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. But most of us don't believe that or understand that. You guys starting to understand the kind of unlearning that needs to happen here, right? And 7, that we are all limitlessness. We are all limitless and powerful creators. We create with where we place our focus. So there's something in the book that we explain about the art of deliberate focus, because we all create, manifest from our most predominant thoughts. Now that's kind of scary if you think about it, because why? We're conditioned to look at what we don't have. So we are mostly in our heads about lack, when in truth, there's nothing but abundance available to us. But if we hyper focus on lack, that's what we create in our life. So this is a really, really important point, and to learn the importance of the art of deliberate focus because you create from what you think. Your thoughts become things. And there's a flow chart to manifestation in life. And it all starts with thoughts, hence the deliberate focus, right? And what's important is because your thoughts elicit an emotion. And that's important because your emotions dictate your vibration. And that's important because your vibration is what we create energetically from. So it all goes back to watching what you think. And I love to share this with me because someone shared it with share this with you because someone shared this with me. They told me that think of your thoughts literally as if what you're thinking about is what you buy and bring home. So you want to ask yourself, do you really want to buy that and bring that home? What you're thinking about? Because 17 seconds you begin to create from your thought. 72 seconds, oh, you're giving it momentum. So you have 17 seconds to roll to catch yourself. And it is, I will say, it is not necessarily the easiest exercise to make a practice of catching your thoughts. But oh, is it well worth it? Because I will submit to you, it's difficult to let your thoughts default to lack, and that's what you're creating from, because whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not, there are physical laws and there are spiritual laws. And just like there's physics, whether you know about it or not, whether you want it to be or not, whether you believe it to be or not, it's law. And us having the law of, let's say, gravity, it protects us because our bodies are not able to survive out in the atmosphere, right? So it keeps us grounded where we can survive. Same is true of spiritual law. It's meant for us, and is law, the law of energy. What goes out comes back to you. So it's well worth being mindful of your thoughts because the universe is not discriminate. It will yield to you exactly what your predominant thought flows to. Right? So it's what we call the gift of free will choice. And we have such free will choice that we can literally choose bondage. And so many of us do. And that has been the biggest gift for me, is to understand how I think. And although, as I was going to say, it's difficult to catch yourself, the short-term benefit of doing so is that you feel better. You feel better. The long-term benefit is as you do it more and more, you begin to default to lack less and less, and there becomes a tipping point. And then you begin to lessen the momentum of lack thoughts to a neutral space because you're catching yourself as a practice. Then as you do that, you begin to build momentum on front loading your thoughts on positivity, and you begin to really build a beautiful life. So both are uncomfortable, catching yourself and allowing yourself to go down the rabbit hole as you would normally. But there is short-term and long-term gain to your manifestations as you do, because there is no limitations to what we can do with this. And I will tell you, in the last 2 months that I've been in this new chapter I've gone through a spiritual ascension the last year, which has been horrific. They told me, we need you to get you to manage your emotions, which is that flow chart to manifestation, right? That's why manage your emotions. You're creating more of what it is that you want. So they told me it's not something you can just go under, around, over. You need to walk through it. It sucks, we know, but we need you to get to this place for you to really understand. And oh my God, it's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience. So I'd like to share a couple of stories about it, but I'm going to run short on time. But I will say this, that as I do this now, as I catch myself, or as I've now learned to embody these 7 universal truths and manage my emotions from it, I can tell you that abundance is flowing like I have never seen it. Hence, peace and prosperity. And oh my God, has it given me peace because I no longer choose to suffer through my thoughts. Yesterday went sideways and I said, okay, Kelly, are you going to go down the rabbit hole or are you going to pull up? And it used to take me 10 minutes or 5 minutes. And then I got to the point where it doesn't even have to cost me that. I just lean in and trust, visualize what I want, trust in my plan that is happening for a reason, and surrender. And there's no resistance to better coming. So, with that, I will open up to questions with you ladies. Hopefully, I was clear on that.
Very clear.
What say
Yeah,
you?
very clear. I am one of those people that has been blessed to kind of somehow have known these things my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So my awakenings are a little bit more gradual. Whew.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Because I know it,
That's nice.
I know it is, and I appreciate it. And I know it has been a rough year for you, but I
Mm.
have seen your transformation. So, you know.
Well, the thing that I will say about this is that spirit knows how to work with us. And this is a past life regressionist, right?
Mhm.
I'm a bit of a drama queen. I'm stubborn. So they will give me the drama. And they told me that in order for you to be the living, breathing testimonial for how this works, it needs to be dramatic because otherwise you don't believe it. And you need to be able to tell your stories in a dramatic fashion because you're pretty authentic and transparent so that people will understand how it works without any doubt.
Mhm.
And you know some of the stories, Melissa, but I think that that's a pretty fair. You are not hard-headed like I am. You are far more subtle. You are far more easygoing than I am. So that's why spirit works with you in a gradual way. They need to beat me over the head sometimes because I'm stubborn.
Well, I'll tell you a funny thing that just happened the other day. I'll keep it brief. I
Hmm.
do Reiki and energy work too. And I had this thought the other day, because, I don't know if you remember, Kelly, but we were doing a practical at your house a few years ago.
Hmm.
And I was the practice person for a past life regression with a life between lives.
Mm.
And I came face to face with Jesus.
Oh,
And that was really profoundly humbling and lovely and
oh
wonderful.
God.
And Jesus gifted me with some knowledge, some things that confirm what you just said a little bit ago. But what I wanted to say was so funny was I've been practicing energy work for forever. And just the other day, it popped into my head and I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus can be my Reiki master.
Hmm. Indeed. What a teacher.
No, it
Right?
is. I have known about Jesus my whole life, but it never occurred to me until 3 or 4 or 5 days ago that Jesus could help me.
Asking is given.
Yes.
So, and they tell me all the time, you guys just don't ask the right question. You don't ask for the right thing,
Yes.
you know? Yeah, I remember a long time ago, before I really started on my intuitive journey, I was doing a meditation, a guided meditation, and I remember seeing Jesus under a tree. And I was flooded with the feeling of unconditional love like I never have
Yep.
felt before. And I just started sobbing
Yep.
and never forgotten the feeling.
I don't think there's anything you can do when you meet Jesus except have tears run down your face.
Right,
It just is automatic.
right.
Yeah.
And as a footnote, can I tell you in the seven universal truths too? Spirit told me that, yeah, we wish you women would have more sex and release your judgments because, one of these seven universal truths, there's no judgment about anything. And because why would we support anything that the human orgasm is the closest experience you can have to God in human form? Why would we want to limit that for you? Isn't
Because
that
we're tired.
amazing?
Because we're
And stop
tired,
being so
Kelly.
hung up on your body. Just be in the moment and have the experience. You'll experience God stronger if you do. Isn't that interesting?
Hmm.
Okay, I gotta go now. Things to do.
She's got to go get close to God. But I do want to share a quick story if you don't mind. Do you mind?
We have
I think,
about a minute left.
oh, okay. Well, a long time ago, when I was developing my intuitive gifts, I would be taken to the other side in my sleep and I would see this big, huge tree. And I would walk through the tree, and I was in the spiritual realm. I knew this, but I would wake up not remembering what all happened. But I would go inside this tree. You know, dreams don't make any sense. And there was this on this tree stump, a book that was open, and I knew it was the book of knowledge. And I could not remember what was on those pages, but I felt like I was being taken there and taught. Well, as I came out of this spiritual ascension, they told me August 31st that you're done. You have accomplished managing your emotions. We needed you to grow into a strong oak tree with a wide, expansive canopy, with a thick, wide trunk that with the roots grown deep into the earth so that you could be grounded. And this large canopy that you've grown protects you from the environment, which is stuff that happens in life, right? And you would create protection for your inner sanctum. I had to look it up, and it meant sacred space. And they said, you did it. You did it. You, Keli, have become the tree of life that holds the book of knowledge. And I have to tell you, I just sobbed. Sobbed. They said, now that you've gone into this next chapter, we are happy to connect some dots for you and showing you how you have been guided all these years. That was decades ago, and how it's landed you here. And that is true of all of us. And my hope is through these writings that we all understand that there's a big picture at play and that we are all limitless, powerful creators. And learn about this so that we can flow with our power to manifest the beautiful lives that are available to us all.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Keli.
You're welcome. So thank you for listening to me, ladies, and thank you for your questions. I know that we are wrapping up. So until our next episode, we thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you join us again the next time. Namaste.